Wendell Jones, and welcome to this edition of the program, The Platform. On this program, we examine national, sometimes international issues. And today on our program, we are going to be speaking with a very young man. It's probably the youngest guest we've ever had on the platform in these 7 years. He told me he's only 14. And his name is David J. Allens. Many Bahamians would have already heard about him. And when I looked at his biography, I saw that he is a young man with many talents. He is extremely gifted in music, and indeed he is doing extremely well at Queen's College at the age of 14. David Allens boasts a remarkable list of accomplishments, and you're going to hear about some of those accomplishments today. David Allens, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So nice to have you here today. Your parents are very proud of you, and so we are going to just ask you to tell us who your parents are.
Well, my mother is Dorcas Cox. She works at Scotiabank. She's a training manager there. My father is Captain Anthony Allens. He is working at COB right now as a Director of Maritime Affairs. And my grandmother is Ina Mae Thelma Ferguson Cox. She is a retired Deputy Permanent Secretary, last working in the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture.
Now, I heard a whole lot about you before I even met you. And many people know you for being a good musician. You are singing, and you're playing some instruments as well.
Yes.
How did you get involved in music?
Well, I first started music, I believe, when I was 4 years old. I started just singing in church and stuff from then, and it developed from there into piano and theory, and then latest into saxophone.
So you were playing the piano as well as the sax?
Yes.
And which grade are you in at the piano?
Piano, I'm going to do grade 4 this year. Grade 5, sorry, this year. And saxophone, I'm going to do grade 5 as well.
So music came to you naturally?
I'd say so, from when I was about 4 years old.
You weren't trained at all?
I was, at first I wasn't. And then as I guess they started to see the music ability in me, I started going to voice lessons and then theory and saxophone and piano lessons as I got older.
And where have you expressed your talent, Mr. Allens?
Well, I joined the Bahamas National Children's Choir when I was 5, and then later into the National Boys Choir at the Bahamas. That's for singing with choirs and stuff. And then I recently joined the Bahamas All-Star Band, and we're going to the Macy's Day Parade in next few weeks. And I play the saxophone in that.
And you've also participated in choral singing outside the country?
Yeah, so the National Children's Choir and the Boys Choir, we go on a trip every year, and most of them are for competitions in countries like Poland and the Czech Republic to compete with other international choirs.
So you sang in the Czech Republic, Poland?
Poland, Czech Republic, London, China, and that's pretty much it.
Well, that must have been a tremendous experience, eh?
Yes, it was.
And what do you sing? What part do you sing?
When I was younger, of course, I was singing, well, what they call first, but as I started to develop now, I'm in bottom or tenor. So.
Tenor?
Yeah.
Okay. And your piano, have you done any solo performances on piano?
Not yet, but I think this year I think I'm gonna enter into the music festival for piano as well.
Okay. What do you eventually want to be?
Well, my ambition from when I was about 5 years old was just my dream was always to be a lawyer and prime minister. So I'm still sticking with that, but as I grew older, I started to realize that somewhere in that I had to fit music into there. So it's more of a mixture of music and law.
So you eventually want to be a lawyer?
Yes, sir.
And so you are in grade 10 now.
Yeah.
So you have about 2 more years of high school, and then you want to go directly into law school?
Well, I haven't decided if I'm going to do music first or law, but it's one of the two. Both are still on the table, I guess.
Okay, so you want to be a politician eventually?
Yeah, so.
Why?
I just feel that from when I was young, I always wanted to, I guess, make a difference in the country. So that just is my aspiration, I guess.
You're making a difference now, aren't you?
Yeah.
What do your friends say? People who, your peers, you seem to be extremely well focused. What do they say about your activities?
Well, most of them don't really realize how extensive my extracurricular and stuff is, but when they do, it's kind of a surprise because they don't often expect it, because I'm not really a type of person who goes and says it out in public like that. Mm-hmm. So it's more of a surprise to them that I do so much stuff during my regular week.
Okay. You believe that you're inspiring them, though, when you do perform where you do, eh?
I do think so, yeah.
Yes? Okay. Now, you have a tremendous drive and discipline, I'm sure, because you could not have accomplished all of these things if you were not a disciplined young man. Where did you get this level of discipline?
I think it really came from my parents, my upbringing. From when I was young, it was always instilled into me. It's always church, then it's schoolwork and music. Those were the 3 main things that I had to focus on, and then all the other extracurricular activities followed suit, but always to stay grounded and focused on the most important things that I had to aspire to.
You are not diverted in any way to spend time with social media or television. There are a whole lot of young men who are caught up in these things. Obviously, you seem not to be caught up in those things.
No, not caught up, but I still do use them, but it's not to the point where I get distracted from my goals.
They don't distract you at all? I mean, with all that is happening in popular culture in this part of the world, in the United States, you have young men in your age bracket. They are into rap music. They are into all sorts of things that they see in media. Why are you not distracted by these?
I believe it's mostly because I always had a strict plan in the time that I spent. So it wasn't a situation where I had really extra spare time to waste doing all of those other things, because I always had one after the next to occupy my time. So it was never really an opportunity to become distracted.
So who was giving you this structure? Did you structure yourself? Was it your grandmother? Was it your mother? Who was it who gave you the structure that you have?
I believe it was more of a combination between me and my parents. I don't want to say that it was them forcing it onto me. At the beginning, I guess it was so them putting me into something that they believe would be worthwhile. But after that, I started to feel that this was what I really needed to do, and this was what I needed to focus on. So, for example, when I finished my grade 8 last year, it was me who came up with the idea for the ATCL, which is an equivalent to an associate's degree in vocal training. So it was always a combination between me and them to figure out the next thing to put me a step ahead.
Mm-hmm. You did also BJCs in grade 8?
Yes, I did.
How many did you get in grade 8?
I took 5 subjects in grade 8, only waiting to do social studies, and I got 4 A's and 1 B, and last year, I got 1 A in social studies.
So you are completed with your BJCs. Yeah. You have how many, 5 A's?
5 A's and 1 B.
And 1 B. Okay, and now you are studying for the BGCSE. Yeah. And do you intend to take how many?
All that's possible.
Or as much as possible.
Yeah.
your academic achievements, are you surprised at all that you were able to get all of these A's, or were you studying hard for this?
It wasn't a surprise. I always knew that I had to achieve high academic results despite the fact that I still had a lot of music and extracurricular activities to do. So it was a 50-50 split almost, where, around exam time, the academics would, I guess, overtake the music in a way. But I always would study during the year so it wouldn't catch up on me. So it was expected that I did well in my mind.
Well, what are your peers doing? Do you have young boys in your school or around where you hang out, where you live? Do you hang out at all?
I do, but it's mostly in the context of what I do. So it's mostly in the context of either academics or music. It's not where I just broadly hang out with anyone. It's more of a situation where it's those people that still push you to greater things and your aspiration.
Okay, so you have young boys your age who are doing what you are doing?
Yeah, well, for example, the All-Star Band, I joined that mostly to improve my music ability in saxophone and then the reading and stuff like that. And the trips and just the practices in general, it's just an opportunity to advance your musicianship in a way that's measurable and memorable.
Yeah. How long were you doing piano, for instance?
I started piano from when I was 5, so that's 9.
5.
Yeah.
So 9 years.
Yeah, yes.
And you are playing proficiently. You are reading all manner of music sheets now, eh?
I'd say so. Yeah.
You are able to play in a concert.
Yeah, if I had time to prepare, yes, I would.
If you had time to prepare. Well, okay. So you have a music teacher or what?
I do have a music teacher. My music teacher for piano is Mr. Edward Cox.
Okay.
And for voice, I go to Mr. Gerard Rigby. He's my voice coach. Then I have Mr. Kieran Roker. I go to him for saxophone and theory and also contemporary piano because I now started to play in my church youth choir. So for that, it's more of ear training that I need from him to be able to pick up songs that the choir would be singing in church.
So that you would be able to play it without a sheet, without the written music. So you want to play by ear. Are you able to play anything, a lot of songs by ear?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah. So far, I have begun to widen the list again.
Okay, your repertoire is getting much bigger now. Okay. Tell me, sir, you are doing well in academics. How has music assisted you in your academics or vice versa?
I believe that it was more of an equal thing. So when I started the music, it created a discipline around just focusing on what you needed to do. So for that translated into the academics, for focusing on BJCs and end of year exams. And then it kind of it almost did the same thing again for the music. So it's like a constant back and forth, improving each discipline in a sense.
So you would say that music has assisted you in becoming a more disciplined person?
I would say so, yeah.
And you would recommend it to other young men and women in the country?
Definitely, yeah.
What aspect of it?
Well, I believe that for me, I kind of think that the piano has helped me with the saxophone and the piano has helped me with the singing. So I would say that the piano is kind of a main instrument, a starting off instrument in my mind. So I would say to do that first and then branch off into other things because it makes it easier because you've already trained your mind to read two hands, and then it's easier then to go into one.
Now it's very difficult from experience dealing with two hands, and you took a little while, I'm sure, to be able to play both the treble clef and the bass clef, eh?
Yeah. Well, when I was younger, the way they train you, I guess, is gradual progression and for both hands, where they train one, train the other, then basic stuff for both, and then.
And the fingering must be precise as well. It's important that you use the right fingers on the right keys, eh?
Yeah, sir.
That must have been a very difficult experience.
At first it was.
At first it was. Okay. You know, I want to take you into one or two areas, and I believe that you have the capacity to deal with it, because on an ongoing basis we bemoan the fact that so many young men in our country are poorly socialized. Okay? That they are so poorly socialized that they are getting themselves involved in trouble. Do you believe that you are an exceptional Bahamian?
I believe so, and I believe that all young people do have the capacity to become one with the right conditioning and the right environment, because it's in all of us, but it has to be, you have to be surrounded by the right people for it to be able to come out. That's my thought on that.
When you say the right people, what do you mean?
For example, the right teachers, the right parents, the right community environment where they would be able to push you forward to achieve higher status, I guess, or achieve the goals that you in your mind have for yourself.
So everything you would say is environment control?
Yeah, I would say.
Okay. And so you believe that we have these social problems because in the main you have at-risk youth who are not in the right environments?
I would say so, because it's not that they themselves have a problem that is so out of control that can't be fixed, but if from a young age they put into things like music or put into things like track and field and basketball that gives them the discipline from a young age, as they get older they develop that discipline, and then that would translate into things like academics and improve the discipline that they were trained in from a young age.
Are you under what is called heavy manners at home?
I believe it depends on what time of year it is, or depends on what I have upcoming. It's not where I have a lot of pressure on me, but when things like exam come around, or for music exams or school exams or performance that I have coming up, I guess I get a little pressure to encouragement to prepare.
Mm-hmm. You from a long list of professional people. Your father is quite a professional man, as is your mother and other members of your family. Your aunt is Desiree Cox, isn't she?
Yes, sir.
Do you feel pressure in any way to achieve a certain goal or a certain mark because of who your parents are and members of your family who are in the professional class?
I wouldn't call it pressure. I would say that those type of things are just an extra motivation to actually try and do better than them in a way.
To do better than them?
Yeah.
Okay.
So for me, it's not pressure as in they're so amazing, you have to force yourself to that point. It's me, an internal drive from them that encourages me do just as well as or better.
Do you think that what you have achieved is about genetics? Because there are some people who would say, well, you know, David Allens is just a smart boy because he's from a long line of intelligent and smart people. He just couldn't miss. You think genes have something to do with it?
I believe they have a small part, but I really don't think that that's the main thing that got me to that point. Because let's say I did have the genes that I have, but I wasn't in the right environment for nurturing as I grew up. I still wouldn't be able to do the things that I do today. So I think it's more nurture than nature.
It's more of nurturing than nature.
Yeah.
That's a strong line. Let's take a break here on that particular point. David Allens, our guest on the program today, he's 14 years old and doing extremely well in academics as well as music. We take this break, we'll come right back. We're back here on the platform this evening speaking with David Allens today, and I am told from his biography that he is playing from the great composers, Mozart and Beethoven and all the rest of them, eh?
Yes, sir.
Good. David, let me ask you this. You are from you're the only child of your grandmother.
Yeah.
Ina May Cox, right?
Yes, sir.
Your mother's only child, right? You think that because you are the only child, that they have been able to spend the time and give you the level of support that you have gotten, and that you are as successful as you are because you are the only child?
I believe that it had a part to play in it, but I don't think that that was the main thing. It was more, even if I wasn't the only child and I had maybe 3 or 4 other siblings, I believe that they would have put the same time and effort into me as they put into everyone else. And me and everyone else would have had the same opportunities to do the same things. Because I don't personally think that my mother and my grandmother are people that would have kind of separated me from my other siblings.
Mm. You think they dote on you?
To a certain extent, but I wouldn't say to the point where I was spoiled or something like that.
You're not spoiled, you think?
Your
grandmother she guards you, she protects you, she is an enabler for you, isn't she?
Yeah, I would agree, but I still don't think that I'm spoiled, because I always was taught that you still have to work for what you want. It's not where it would be a gift for all of the things that you achieve, that your achievement is based on the effort you put in from the start. So I don't think that I was spoiled to that extent.
You're not spoiled to that extent. You get everything that you ask for, right?
No.
you don't?
No.
You get all the vacations that you want, right?
No, it has to be in reason, and then I have to, I guess, prove to them that I deserve it. So it's still, even for the things that I asked for, I have to still work for it.
Work in which way?
Well, it just, whereas I have to prove to them that I deserve it. So even when I recently wanted a phone, so I know that it would have been easy for them just to give it to me, but they still made me go and say, you have to save part or save half of this so that you know that it was you who also contributed to this. So in that way, I wouldn't say that I'm spoiled.
Who's your hero?
A hero. I don't...
You don't have a hero?
I don't really think I do.
You don't have a hero?
No.
Isn't there someone in the world somewhere that you admire most?
I do look at a wide variety of world leaders. Mostly, it's different things for. I look at different things from each of them. So it's more of I don't have an individual hero, but in my mind, I have this image of the person that I want to be based on the good things that I see out of all the other persons that have gone ahead of me.
Explain that. Explain the image of the person that you want to be.
So I basically see for myself a person who is able to. I guess I see for myself a person who was able to have achieved everything that they had as an ambition. So I want to be able to say when after I've done all of this, I would have been able to say that I've done everything that I really, really needed to do and really wanted to do to help others and to improve the situation that I was in.
At 14 years old, you are inspiring people where you go. I know that you've been singing in banquets and weddings and at school functions, and you sang at Government House. They told me that you did a fantastic job performing at the 238th anniversary independence of the United States of America at the Ambassador's House at Liberty Outlook. So a whole lot of people are talking about you. Are young men coming to you in particular and saying to you, boy, David, you know, I want to be like you?
They don't say I want to be like you, but they don't say it outright. But you could, for example, if someone were to say, oh, I saw you sing this place, or I saw you in the newspaper recently, it's almost as if you could tell that they still have in their mind, this is something that I guess like to see. It's a good quality that I see in him. But they don't outright say, I want to be like you. It's more of a internal thing for them, but my impression of what they say is that it's admiration.
Okay. Tell me, David, when you look around our country and our social circumstances, and I'm sure you read the newspapers and you listen to the news, and you hear about the mayhem and you hear about the troubled youth in our country. What comes to mind? How do you describe it? If I were to ask you to do a little narrative on the social circumstances in the country, how would you do that?
I would say that it's just people who were not given a good opportunity to improve the circumstances that they were in. I would say that it was people who were in the wrong place at the wrong time, people who didn't have opportunities to, I guess, divert themselves from negative behavior and have an opportunity to put themselves into positive programs and stuff like that. That's what I would say is, I guess, the social situation.
I have something in my head, and I might be misguided in saying some of the things that I say, you know. And I have this view that a whole lot of young men who get in trouble in our society are themselves victims. They are victims because they are from dysfunctional homes. They're from broken homes. They are victims because they came from places where there was no parental control. They are victims because there's not a premium on education where they are. They're victims because of the poor environment in which they were reared. Am I wrong?
I would agree with that. I would say that many people, they don't have the, I guess, the nurturing, the persons who's supposed to be there in their life to guide them the right places to go. So they end up going to the wrong people, doing the wrong things that in their mind they think are right. It's not that they don't have an ambition for better, but based on what is in front of them, this was the best option. It was no good option out of the bad, but this was the best one. So they went after that. But I think that if it was a wider spectrum of options out there for them, that they would choose the option that was right, the good option that would help people instead of hurting them.
Mm-hmm. So you think that there are a lot of misguided young men and women in the society?
I do think so.
Okay. And I asked you earlier about distractions. And there's something called cultural imperialism, the extent to which the importation of various habits and the adoption of various cultures would have an impact on the lifestyle of youth. And we are very close to North America, and we import bad habits, and we import some good habits, but more bad habits, it seems, than good. To what level, extent do you think cultural imperialism might be responsible for some of the social problems and social dislocations that we have in this country today?
I believe that we, as young people, we look up to those people that are out available for us through social media, for us to look up to, for recording artists and singers and stuff like that, who are in the public light, who are rich and famous, the people who you would expect they went round the right path. So I think that many people end up emulating them, but in the wrong way. They end up not seeing the ambition behind the things that they do, but instead see the things that they actually do. So they try to repeat those actions, but it doesn't work out. And they don't understand why, so they feel that they just did it wrong, so they would want to try again. But I think that influences from America has a lot to do with what now is a big problem for young people.
Mm-hmm. A whole lot of young men are driven by the acquisition of things. They want some money, not wanting to work hard. They don't want to study, but they want things. The instant gratification. They want things and they want it now. You're not swayed by that, are you?
I don't believe so. I do have moments, I guess, where I'd say I see something and I really want it.
You want that nice cell phone?
Yeah, I would want a cell phone. But then when I come home and I say I want this, I don't get it immediately. They would say, okay, let's look at the money that you have saved. Do you really want to spend it to get this? And if the answer is yes, then it's yes. But you have to realize that all of that money that you took a while to save, you're going to spend. So you have to weigh the odds in your mind. Is it really worth it? So I don't think that they have an opportunity to have someone ask them, is it really that important to you? So instead, they just go out and try and get it.
When did you get your first cell phone?
My first cell phone, I think, was...
And you were 10?
It was in grade 6, but only because I was going on a school trip to Atlanta. So they wanted to talk to me while I was away.
Mm. And you kept the cell phone ever since?
Well, I upgraded it since then, but I kept a cell phone.
So you always you had all of the toys and the accoutrements of life that you really needed, eh?
Well,
you had the nice laptop and all the rest of it?
Well, no, I wouldn't say so. I got the laptop that I got for Christmas maybe 2 years ago, But before that, I would use the same laptop that my mommy had. So I would share that with her for things like research and stuff. But I never really had a wide variety of unnecessary in my mind electronic devices that neither me or my parents thought that I needed. So.
David Allens, I mentioned that to you because I believe that a whole lot of young people are motivated by stuff. They just want some stuff. And young people, some of them are prepared to do anything to get the stuff that they need. Young men are involved in stealing and pushing drugs and whatever to get stuff. This whole question of materialism in our society, this has a negative impact on the youth of our country, wouldn't you say?
I would say so. I think that their motivations is just based on the actual item instead of the journey it took to get it. Mm-hmm. So instead of seeing what do I need to do to get where I want to go, they want to just immediately get there. So they don't see the hard work behind a goal. Mm-hmm. So they don't want to go through all of that. They just want to immediately get right to it.
They want to get it, and they want it now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You are in the, as you mentioned, the Bahamas National Boys Choir, the Church of God of Prophecy Junior Brass Band. You have participated, as you said, in the National Youth Choir, Queens College School Band, Queens College School Choir, Urban Renewal Band. Where do you find time for all of this?
I think it's, if there's a new activity, I kind of have to look at the little spaces in my time and try and figure out how will I be able to put this in without sacrificing any of the other things that were already there. So it's a struggle, I guess, to fit in all of those things, but I just have a motivation to get those things all in weekday, I guess. Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you're motivated by excellence. Yeah. You could not have done what you have done, or you cannot be achieving what you are achieving if you are not motivated by a sense of excellence. And I want you to talk about that a little bit, because you are a high achiever, aren't you? You get depressed when you get a bad grade, don't you? Well, have you ever gotten a bad grade, I should ask you?
Well, bad grade for me, and I was always, I guess, conditioned, was anything below 70 to 75 was bad. It's no question about it. But I think that was also because I went to Queens College and from ELC, from Phase 2. And one of Queens College's, I guess, mottos is excellence lives here. So that combined with my parents motivating me and that instilled in me from a young age, it always was just strive for excellence, strive for the best that you can get. That was just the only option, I guess.
Excellent lives here. Is that really true for QC?
I believe so.
You think so?
I think so.
You are top in your class, academic.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Are you?
Yes, sir.
Do you have you get grades in terms of who came first, as in the old days? You know, my late friend Miles Monroe would always talk about who will come first or second when we went to school. Are you motivated that way?
I do. I would say that I am motivated by other high achievers in my classes. So based on each class, I mentally see in my mind who is the person who I'm competing against. It's who, if I get a test back, who will I ask what they got?
Okay.
Who will I compare with? Who would I ask for help if there was needed other than the teacher? So I guess that was always a motivation for me, and that has been and is still a motivation for me in school.
You're a high flyer, you think?
I think so.
Okay, all right. Do you see a sense of excellence in the country? You know, I interviewed the late Rex Nettleford on the same program, and we were talking about intellectualism in the Caribbean and the development of a truly intellectual society. Do you think we have such in the Bahamas?
I believe that there is a portion of our society that is there. And I think that there's a portion of our society that is getting there. And I think that there's a portion of our society that needs help to be there. But I think that we can get there. But it just is the right conditioning, the right environment, the right people who are there to get those things done.
What is stopping us from getting there, from being that thing? You know, in other Caribbean societies, they talk about the intellectual community, the intellectual class. What is stopping us in the Bahamas from being there?
I think that it's mostly we have a habit of not looking within ourselves for a motivation. We have a habit of comparing ourselves to other people in other countries, so we don't develop an internal drive, and that's really what helps you to get anywhere. It's not from what other people tell you, but that helps you to develop your drive. But once you have your drive, it's you who has to say, I want to get this, I want to achieve this, and go out and do the things necessary to get it done.
An internal drive, you say? How do you describe this internal drive, and what brings it about?
I would say that internal drive would be that voice in your head that always says, this is good, but you can do better. The voice that in your mind is always there telling you that always strive for the best that you can be. The motivation that doesn't rely on everyone else. That's what I would say is the internal drive.
We're talking with a very smart boy today, David Allens, a 14-year-old of QC, whose parents are very proud of him. We take this break, we'll come right back. We're back here on the platform in the final segment of our platform program today. And we are speaking with a future Prime Minister of the Bahamas, David Allens, who his ambition is to be a Prime Minister of the Bahamas. He's only 14 and is doing extremely well across the board. And I asked you earlier on about role models. And you didn't mention any of the prime ministers of the Bahamas. You didn't mention even President Obama, which tells me that you want to even be better than they were. Eh?
I'd say that I want to look at the best qualities in each leader that I see in modern society and figure out those things that worked and what didn't work, to figure out what not to do and what to do. So it's more of, it's not a whole person that I see. It's the best of everyone I want to try and combine in myself.
But tell me, what is a good leader to you, to David Allens?
I think a good leader is someone who is able to motivate someone else to do the best that they can do. And to be able to get those things that need to be done for the betterment of everyone else. So I think it's more of a combination of doing what needs to be done while still getting others to, I guess, help you to get there in a sense. Mm-hmm.
Do you see aspects of that in this country?
I do.
You do? You're holding back on me now. You see that in this country?
I do. I see that at the best points of everyone, there are those times when they're able to get those things and the things that need to be done to get the people who need to be motivated. But it's in our country, it's not always consistent. But I think that what we need to do is find a way to consistently get the right things done all the time.
Let me ask you, and you might give me some politically correct answers, but I'm going to ask you anyhow. What disappoints you about this country?
I believe what disappoints me is that sometimes we're not able to figure out the right thing when it needs to be figured out. So we'll get to the right answer, but it's just, it might take 3, 4, 5 years to get there. I think what needs to be done is to shorten the time period it takes to get there. It needs to be almost instant. We need to figure out a way to get a system where we find a problem and we find a way to fix it just as we figure it out.
It takes too long to fix problems.
Yeah.
It's a very good answer. What you appreciate now, this is the flip side of the question, most about the Bahamas. What excites you most about the Bahamas, and what causes you pride to be a Bahamian?
I think what excites me the most is that we still have a lot of potential. There's still a lot of things that we could even do better. Things that are great now, but there's even more room for improvement. There's more that can be done. I think that's really what's a motivation for me to be a prime minister, for me to be a leader in this country, to figure out the ways to improve what's already there instead of trying to break it down, things that already are working, instead of trying to get rid of those, but instead to try and improve them.
You are a nice young man, and from your bio here, you're a member of a church, Church of God of Prophecy, right?
Yeah, sir.
Which one?
East Street.
East Street. And you think, based on where you are, the environment in which you are, that you, in another 10 years or so, would be ready for the rough and tumble and the cut and thrust of politics in the Bahamas?
I think that I would be ready. I think that I would need, as anyone else would need, the right people surrounding you, the right mentorship to figure out what is your strategy, what is my, I guess, platform in a sense, the way that I get things to happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, politics is the art of the possible, and sometimes you have to allow people to have their way and their say, even when it runs contrary to your point of view, because it is the art of the possible. You know, there are many politicians who might be, for instance, against capital punishment, but because the masses say to be for capital punishment, that you have to go along with that. Now, are you that kind of person who would be swayed to go in a particular direction, even though you know it's the wrong direction?
I believe that I wouldn't be swayed, but I would have more of a motivation to show them what the right way is. And for them, you have to be able to sway them instead of let them sway you. So you have to get the public side, that the public be on your side, but not instead let them get you on theirs.
So you have to be an effective communicator.
Yeah.
Do you think you are an effective communicator?
I believe so.
You think so? And public speaking would be one of your strong suits, eh?
Yeah, I am in the debate club at Queen's College. I joined from actually grade 7 or 8.
Is that right? Have you competed in a debate?
Yeah, in school, not into school yet, but into house debates I have.
Okay, and how did you do?
Well, fared well based on the circumstances.
What circumstances you're talking about?
I mean, most of the time we would place well first or second, but there are times when there are certain things that sway the results.
Just to talk a little bit more about the political situation in our country, I'm sure that you are aware of what is happening. You keep your ear to the ground, right? And you follow movements of politicians and the debates that we have. What about the level of debate that we have in this country on the various issues? Are you impressed?
I think that there are times when we do have good intellectual debates where we get results out of it, where you get to hear both sides of the argument and you get to understand the best of both. But I believe that there are times when we have a habit of, instead of debating where you are trying to get, a reasonable answer from both sides, you're trying to instead argue instead of hearing both sides. You're trying just to push your side forward, disregarding the other person's point of view. So I believe that that's one of the problems with debating in this country. We have a habit of not really listening. We have a habit of just talking and just not listening.
Do you see, for instance, political hypocrisy in our debate and duplicity?
I think so, where you claim that someone else is the only person that does it, but in your claim you are doing the same thing that you have a problem with. I think that that's another problem that we have in terms of politics in our country that kind of has to be fixed, because instead of getting anything done, all you do is encourage a fight, in a sense, for the person who is able to convince everyone else that they're the right one.
The politicians that are on the scene now, they inspire you for good or ill?
I think that they do, and the best of each one that is there. So just like how I said before, I like not to look at the person's good and the bad, like how I was always told, eat the fish and spit out the bone. Look at the good that you could get out of them instead of disregarding them on the whole.
What about the social institute? I beg your pardon, the other institutions we have in the society? Because leaders are not only in the political realm, they are throughout the society in other aspects of life in our country. In terms of community leadership, you see some inspiration there?
I do. I see those that are in charge of certain civic groups that really are able to improve our society as a whole and to unselfishly improve the society in general instead of trying to just use those societies as for their own personal benefit. So I do see that in our country.
You know, there were a number of students who at a very young age aspired to be politicians. One, Sean McQueenie, went to QC. You know that?
Yeah.
You know the story of Sean McQueenie at QC?
Not really, no.
No? Well, he was quite a leader, a student leader at Queen's College. Perhaps you can research that one of these days, eh? But as we come to near the end of the program, I'm happy that you came here today because I believe that you are an inspiration to countless Bahamians. And I want you to leave them with some messages. Boys in your age group, for instance, advice that you would give them to be the kind of A student that you are, to do well in your extracurricular activities as you are. You seem to be well-grounded. What do you say to them?
I would say that to not let your environment distract you from the things that you, I guess, need to get done. You have these goals that you set for yourself. You have these ambitions that you want. You have these things that you say in your mind, I need to do. But you instead let other people who don't have the same ambitions as you, who maybe don't even have a goal at all, distract you from that. So what I really would say is that not to let people who don't have your best interests at heart, who don't have even their own best interest at heart, not deliberately, but to not let them distract you from the right thing, not to let them get in the way of the things that you need to do.
Mm-hmm. And as we close, David Allens, I went to the College of the Bahamas. I'm doing some research on a project, and I saw hundreds of young men and women, girls and boys, and I wondered whether or not we would have the capacity to retain and to keep these people and to give them the kind of opportunities in this country for growth. Are you optimistic for the Bahamas?
I do think that we will be able to stop, I guess, the brain drain, the situation where we have persons who either are educated here or educated abroad, but they don't ever come back or they just don't stay. I think that it's we have to be able to create those opportunities to, in a sense, convince people that it's better in the Bahamas, it's better to stay home, in a way.
Thank you so very much for being here today. You made a great guest. And as I said at the beginning, you are probably the youngest person that we've had on the platform at the age of 14. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your being here today. And we thank your parents for allowing you to come here today. When I finished a particular Issues of the Day program, I was reminded that we have one young master, David J. Allens, who I should speak with. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching and listening to our program. Good evening, everyone.